If you haven't seen the last video, click here.
Chris, there is no fish in these lakes. You have to get going and find some food. Otherwise you won't be able to survive.
Good morning, you guys. What a night. Well, I'm still alive. I didn't freeze too much. I woke up like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times. It's still dark outside, but I'm happy. My shelter is still up. Didn't break. Temperature was like around minus 10, 14 during the night, even in my shelter. I mean, there was nothing what insulated it. If you check now, temperature is around minus 1, 2.
The fresh fallen snow on top of my roof insulated the shelter so well that the temperature inside went from minus 14 up to just below 0 degrees Celsius. That was actually really nice, but at the same time it made it hard to get out into the cold and put on some clothes. So I only had these 2 small fish yesterday. To make sure I get something for breakfast, I left my fishing rods out the whole night. Therefore I had to check if there was any fish on one of my rods. Number 1. Nothing. I knew that at least one of these 3 rods would bring a fish. But also number 2. It left me without fish. So there was only one more rod to check. And here was again no fish on the other end of the line. While I was quite low on energy at that point, the fact that I had nothing to eat for breakfast got me super motivated, and I wanted nothing more than finding out where those fish hang around in this lake. Before I went fishing, I took the top off of my shelter and looked at what I built last night. Looking at it from the top, it somehow reminds me of a bird's nest. Here's a picture of what it looked like when I crawled out of my sleeping bag that morning. The space I had was alright, but seriously, these branches hanging into my face during the night really freaked me out a few times. I fished for about 3 hours all over the lake without any success. Finally, I got to a spot where I then managed to catch 2 fish at the same time on 2 different rods. Look at them. Not only are they really beautiful, in fact, they are delicious. And even if they were not, I would still eat them since it was already after 12. and I was really starving.
And another one. Ah, this feels so good. Finally some fish. Oh my god. I fished now for about 3 hours or something. So, this is a release. I got some food. I'm really hungry.
There wasn't much more happening at that spot after these 2 fish, but I wanted to eat something anyways. One fish, that was all I really needed to get back some energy, and now it was time to start building my igloo. Since the snow conditions were good enough to cut my blocks, I took away the old shelter completely. I was confident that I could finish the igloo that night. My first task was to even out the spot where I wanted to put my blocks. I made sure that I took away all the small branches, because who would want to have all that dirt in his bedroom? The next step was simply to mark a circle as a guideline so I see where my blocks had to be placed. And after that I could start with placing my first blocks. The first round can take some time. Once you made it all around, you have to cut your first blocks in a certain way so that your wall is getting higher with every round to come. And now I could start setting the following blocks on top of the other ones. All this took me a lot of energy and time. As I was only halfway done with round 2, I noticed it already started to get dark again. Here I go into another night shift. Thank God I still had enough battery left in my headlight. Right before I started with the igloo, a man came by on a snowmobile and we talked about what I was doing. I did not expect to meet someone else, but it was nice talking to another person. In the end, he gave me one more small fish. In fact, I was really grateful for it and could therefore keep my bigger trout for the next day, in case I wouldn't catch anything else, But not only that, the man also told me about the area and gave me a very useful information, which you are going to find out more about later. Once the wall is getting too high, you need a door to get outside. By choosing an elliptical shaped igloo, I thought I was going to save some time. Instead, it turned out to take much more time, because I sometimes had to use a pole to support the blocks. It was already late, and I felt so exhausted. It took me over 6 hours to finish the igloo. At the end, all I wanted was to sleep. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, make sure to subscribe and don't miss out on the next video. Good night.